trade season opened up on December 15th. That's where 90% of the players are eligible to be moved. There was a bit of a kerfluffle on social media about Jimmy Butler. Is Jimmy Butler asking out of Miami? This is his, opt-out year, everything else. The Heat don't look like a team that is playing for championships. Pat Riley's always trying to play for championships. Zach LaVine is also a player who people, for whatever reason, I hate this, James. I hate this, and I've said this here. I've said this everywhere.
We agree. I already know what you're saying. Go ahead.
We look at players as contract numbers and not as ball players. Mm-hmm. And I get this is a salary cap league. This is a second apron league, so you got to be real careful about how you spend your money, how you allocate it. But there comes a point where, damn it, you just need to go get the guy. And Zach LaVine, I think, is one of those guys who's had dirt on his name for a couple of years, and nobody's looking and saying, this dude can ball. 50, 44, 81. That's the slash line. 20 and 5 a night. And that 22, excuse me. And that's on the low end because he can explode for 40, as we saw him do against the Celtics.
He's so good, man.
If I'm Denver, I'm giving up Michael Porter Jr., I'm giving up whomever to go get him.
Yep. And if I'm Detroit, as we just talked about, could use another creator alongside Cade. If I'm Detroit, I think about it too.
Would you give a Jaden Ivey for Zach LaVine? Because that's what it would cost. You would probably have to bring in a third team, I would assume, because
they have I think they have $14 million in cap space, the Pistons.
Yeah, but my thought is Chicago has so many guards. They wouldn't necessarily need.
They would have to they'd have to get rid of they'd have young guard. Yeah, they have Giddey. Regardless, Jaden he's had really good moments this season. I guess it kind of depends. Do the Pistons see him as? I think him and Cade have worked significant moments this season.
Yes,
but do they view him as more of a guy probably long term coming off the bench or a starter? They have to decide that. But if you think Cade is what he's shown, I think LaVine fits that to a T because I think he's currently right now above Jaden offensively, obviously. And I don't think the drop-off is there defensively. So it's something you have to think about. But Zach LaVine, I agree. Denver, Detroit, sneakily kind of wouldn't mind Orlando. There's enough good defenders there. I'm understating that. There are a lot of good defenders there that would help him and just gives them a little more offensive juice. And obviously they're going through something right now with some serious injuries.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I'm a big Zach LaVine fan. I agree with you. You have to, of course, factor in the contract. But I think my issue has been with the talk of the contract, there's people just acting like Zach isn't nice. Me and you, I don't want to speak for you, but last time we talked, we both were more I like Zach more than Trae.
Oh, I don't think it's a question. I think.
And Trae's had a phenomenal year, so I probably sound when we first talked about it, it wouldn't sound as crazy as it maybe sounds right now. And Trae's been really good this year, but I personally would rather have Zach than Trae.
I think there are some players who are losing players, and I think there are some players who play on losing teams. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a distinction betwixt the two.
Zach has always been on a losing team.
He's always been on a losing team, but he's not a loser.
I agree.
He wants it way too much to be a loser. B, I've seen his game actually grow in spots that don't show up in stat sheets. His one-on-one defense has gotten
so underrated.
Yeah, better.
He gets a bad he's not a great defender, but his one-on-one defense isn't terrible. He tries.
It's pride. One-on-one defense basically is macho. You just tell, hey, man, you going to let this dude score on you?
Yep.
And if you appeal to someone like that, their competitiveness, he's a competitor. So I think whoever winds up with him, they're going to be kicking themselves on the back end because you're going to say, we could have did this deal for a lot less last year.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to say, oh, yeah, the contract is the contract. True. But in today's league, everybody's contract is going to be something on the back end of it because the way that the cap is going to have another jump in the next 18 months or whatever it is. Right. I'm not a cap expert, but I think it's going to have another considerable jump to where a $40 million contract or $45 million contract will feel like 25.
Right.
And it's just a different league of economics. And I think I think Zach just gets a bad rap, and I know I used to cover him, so people are saying you probably have a proximity thing. You're right. I do, which means I've watched this dude every day, and I know basketball character there, as opposed to saying, man, good player, bad team. It's more complicated than that.
We've both seen. That's kind of where I'm at with Cade, right? Like I know Cade as well as any player I've ever. I was there the moment he stepped into the league. I knew what he was made of and what it would be. Similar with you and Zach, right? Like we've both been around good stats or bad. We've been around those guys that are losing players. We both have. We know. We don't need to say names. We know who they are. Those two ain't that, and it's showing. Like I mean, the Bulls aren't whatever, right? But LaVine's been insane this year.